missed my dad's call when he had the car accident. All because I saw a girl next to Alex. She was leaning on his shoulder, teasing while holding up a piece of clothing. This must be worth what? 3 years of Jessica's parents' wheat harvest? The fabric looks decent. Maybe I should let my dog tear it up as a toy? Alex glanced at the shirt. Your dog plays with such cheap stuff? He grabbed it and tossed it into the trash. That shirt was my birthday gift for Alex, bought with every cent I saved from 4 years of part-time jobs in college. But sadly, my everything meant nothing. The shirt went in the trash, and so did my feelings. Chapter 1. The moment Alex looked up, he saw me standing at the door. He probably didn't expect me to catch him in the act. That scornful, mocking look in his eyes hadn't even faded yet. Still, there was no trace of embarrassment on his face. His tone remained light, almost indifferent. You're here. Why are you just standing at the door? Everyone in the private room turned to look at me, especially the girl who had held up the shirt, her lips curled into a mocking smile, clearly enjoying the drama as she looked at me with lazy contempt. All the blood in my body froze. Even my nerves felt numb. I walked into the room, pretending not to care, my eyes fixed on the trash can next to Alex. The white shirt was crumpled inside, buried in garbage. That shirt cost over 10,000 yuan. Yet to him, it wasn't even worth being treated as a servant's perk. It was everything I had saved in college. But to him, my everything was worthless. I bent down and picked the shirt out of the trash. One of Alex's friends rubbed his nose awkwardly and tried to smooth things over. Hey, sis-in-law. Alex was just messing with us. That's not the one you gave him. The shirt you bought? Alex treasures it like gold. He keeps it hidden at home. Won't let anyone see or touch it. Saying that, he got up and reached out to take the shirt. It's dirty now. Just toss it. I avoided his hand. My eyes fell on the cuff. There, stitched into the fabric, were a few characters I embroidered myself. How could I not recognize what I bought? Clutching the shirt, I looked at Alex. He had his eyes down, smoking. The thin smoke blurred his features. I couldn't see his face clearly, nor his expression. I stared at him, step by step walking closer. A few seconds later, he blew out a puff of smoke and looked up at me. His voice was cold, emotionless. You know I have sensitive skin. I told you, don't bother getting me gifts made of cheap fabric. You don't have to give me anything. I'll still love you the same. Was it that I didn't need to give him anything? Or was it that he looked down on what I gave, so much that it was like giving nothing at all? The answer was obvious. I put the shirt into my bag, and without another word, slapped him hard across the face. I don't know what expression I had at that moment. Probably twisted. We're done. With that, I turned and walked out. Behind me, there was dead silence. My palm stung so much it trembled. It felt like my nerves had shattered. Just as I stepped outside, a wave of suffocation hit me. I hunched slightly and leaned against the wall. Maybe they thought I had left. I heard voices again from inside the room. Alex, you're not going after her? Weren't you always obsessed with Jessica? Pfft. As if. Alex doesn't actually treasure her. She really thought she mattered. A long pause. Then Alex's voice finally came. If I go now, nothing I say will work. Let her cool off a few days. She'll sort herself out. A friend teased. Still not planning to break up? Alex, she's sweet and pretty, why would I? Come on. She just dumped you. She's just being emotional. Everyone laughed. Yeah. Anyone who gives everything just to buy Alex a shirt. Girls down bad. TSK. Probably never even spent that much on her own parents. She's obsessed with Alex. Don't worry. One little wave from Alex, and she'll crawl back. That slap she gave me felt good. Not gonna lie, ha ha ha. Shut up. The room went right back to its drunken revelry, as if I'd never even been there. I walked away. My phone rang again. A stranger's voice came through the receiver. Is this Jessica? Your family's been in a car accident. Please come to the hospital immediately. Chapter 2. Outside. The rain was pouring. Thunder and lightning crashing all around. Cars on the road were backed up in a long, unmoving line. Raindrops pounded heavily against the windshield. I stared at the rows of red brake lights ahead, my heart pounding with panic. In my ears, that phrase kept echoing. Your family, there's been a car accident. I didn't know how bad the accident was. But in this kind of storm, I didn't even dare to imagine. All I could do was pray over and over again, begging that misfortune wouldn't fall on them. But when I finally made it to the hospital, my dad was already gone. I didn't even get to see him one last time. An unspeakable grief swept through every inch of my body. Shock, denial, devastation, emotions tore me apart. My mom was collapsed over the hospital bed, sobbing uncontrollably. I told you not to go deliver those groceries, but you had to go. Now look, no money earned, and no life left to buy your daughter a treat. You won't even see her this summer. At that moment, the whole world went silent. My mind went blank, the strength drained from my limbs, and I dropped to my knees. My dad wasn't highly educated. He grew vegetables and fruits at home. He got up before dawn and came home after dark to sell produce or deliver fresh goods to restaurants. When I was little, he'd always bring me back something tasty from the street. Now, I'd never get to eat those little gifts from him again. I didn't have a father anymore. I could have gone home earlier. I graduated and left school just 2 days ago. But today was Alex's birthday. So if only I'd gone home earlier, the three of us would have been having dinner, chatting at home. He wouldn't have gone out to deliver, and he wouldn't be lying here now, cold and lifeless. Trembling, I crawled to the edge of the hospital bed on my knees. I stared at my dad's pale, lifeless face. A pain so intense pierced my heart that I couldn't even cry or speak. Years of labor had deformed his knuckles. He wasn't even 50, but his body was thin and aged. He lay there quietly. He'd never scold me again, never worry about me again. At dusk, I'd never again hear him say, "Sweetie, look what I brought you to eat." Turns out, growing old isn't always the prelude to death. You never know whether tomorrow or a tragedy will come first. My father left me silently, without warning. I thought about the expensive white shirt I bought for Alex. I thought about the things they said. I slapped myself twice, then tore the shirt to shreds. Yes, I never even bought my father a good shirt, a decent pair of shoes. Yet I shamelessly threw away my pride for a man who meant nothing to me. Even before this, I was wallowing in self-pity, mourning a rotten, toxic love. I was pathetic. It's me who should be damned. Sweetie, you're here. My mom's eyes, filled with despair, made every organ inside me ache. Mom, I'm sorry. I failed Dad. Silly girl. How can this be your fault? He just wasn't careful. She didn't finish her sentence. She collapsed to the floor. Mom? Mom. I hadn't even had time to process my dad's death. And now my mom was unconscious, being rushed to emergency care. Chapter 3. At dawn, the light in the emergency room finally went out. The doctor said my mom had a heart attack from overwhelming grief. Her condition was extremely grim. The most important thing is, the doctor sighed, unable to go on. What? Your mother's lungs have cancer. It's already in the late stage. My heart skipped a beat, and I stumbled backward in shock. What did you say? The cost of treatment is very high. How much are we talking about? It could reach $1 million. If it's really impossible, just give up. Even with treatment, she may only live another 3 to 5 years. There were other patients waiting, so the doctor didn't stay any longer. I trembled and slid down the wall until I was crouching on the ground. All I could hear was the beeping of medical machines, like death calling out. But no matter what, I have to save my mom. No matter how long she has, I have to save her. I don't want to lose my mom right after losing my dad. I want to keep her here, even if she can only walk a little further with me. I started calling my uncles and aunts to borrow money. Everyone said they didn't have any. Some even advised me not to treat cancer. The kind and friendly family I'd always known, so cold-blooded now. I buried my face in my hands, despair washing over me like a fog. In a single night, my world had collapsed completely, as if the entire universe had abandoned me. Chapter 4. It was a scorching summer morning, yet the heat couldn't warm my cold hands and feet. I took a cab to find Alex. I wanted to borrow money from him. Just a few bottles worth of alcohol from him could be enough to keep my mother from leaving. Only now do I realize, pride and dignity mean nothing in the face of money. I sat by the flower bed in front of Alex's company waiting for him. He hadn't even graduated yet, but he was already gaining experience in his family's business. Now, He had started his own gaming company. His life had been smooth sailing from the very beginning, a road paved with blooming flowers, while I, on the other hand, faced a shattered and uncertain future. As people bustled by, the world began to stir. At 9 o'clock, Alex's car finally pulled up at the entrance. I was just about to stand when I saw a girl step out of the passenger seat. Her playful, coquettish voice reached my ears. It was the same girl who mocked me yesterday in the private booth. "It's not that I can't write the report. It's just too hard." Alex smiled helplessly. "Aren't you usually the one who loves writing the most? How come you can't do it now? You don't get it. When a hobby becomes work, it's torture." "Oh really? Weren't you the one who insisted on interning at my company? And you demanded an easy, high-paying role just to coast through? You can't even write a simple draft. What can you do?" The girl clung to his arm, whining softly. "I didn't realize I was this dumb. Teach me, please." Alex gently removed her hand. "Can't do. I'm very busy." From where I sat, I could see Alex's expression. Though he rejected her, his demeanor was indulgent, even affectionate. Maybe he didn't even realize he looked exactly the same as he did back when we first met in freshman year. The girl, not giving up, pulled a milk tea from her bag and coaxed, "Please?" She opened it and held the straw to his lips. He usually didn't touch milk tea, but this time, he actually took a sip. Still, not fond of it, he pushed it away after one taste. "I'll teach you when I have time, but I usually don't." The girl's eyes sparkled as she happily drank from the same straw he had used. "This is so good. How do you not like it?" Alex frowned. "Don't do that. It'll give people the wrong idea." She pouted. "Who's going to get the wrong idea? Jessica? If you really liked her, you would have gone to win her back by now. You don't understand." "Pfft, of course I do. You've just never been with low-class girls before. It's the novelty. That's all. Watch what you say. Just drink your milk tea." "Alex, you'd better think this through. Poor girls' love is the most suffocating. They throw everything they have into showing love. They love to move themselves with their own sacrifices, because aside from their meager, hard-earned money, they've got nothing else." Alex seemed lost in thought. Giving no reply, the girl continued. "Life's not long, but it's not short either. Being with someone on a different wavelength, it's torture." Alex's silence was a quiet agreement, even though I'd known his answer all along, and it no longer mattered. My already shattered heart cracked again. The human heart, in the end, is unbearable to gaze upon. In that moment, swept by a wave of emotions, I nearly drowned. Chapter 5. Alex saw me. That girl saw me too. She quickly hid behind Alex, her wide, innocent eyes cautiously watching me like she was scared of me. Alex turned his head slightly to glance at her, then softly reassured her, "Go to the company first." But she didn't move. Instead, she looked at me and said, "Sister, I grew up with Alex. I'm a straightforward person. If I said anything that upset you, don't take it to heart." After that, she raised her eyebrows at me in a taunting way, waved a mocking goodbye, and only then did she turn to leave. If it had been before, I probably would have snapped back at her, but now, I didn't feel like wasting my breath. My mind was filled with one thing: money. Alex walked over to me. "She's the daughter of my mom's best friend. Her name is Lisa. She's also my sister." Don't overthink it. His sister, so familiar, so pampered, and yet, I had never heard of her, but I didn't care anymore. Even this rare explanation from him couldn't bring me comfort. I took a deep breath and got straight to the point. "Can you lend me some money?" He frowned. "Is it urgent?" "Yes. Go wait for me at the cafe across the street. I need to sign something at the company. I'll be there soon." His tone and expression were incredibly perfunctory. There was even a glint of condescending amusement in his eyes. Clearly, he didn't believe I was in any sort of life or death situation. Maybe in his eyes, I was just a failed simp turned gold digger. After all, I just told him yesterday, so proudly, that I was done with him, and now, here I was, didn't even wait for him to coax me back. Just showed up asking for money. No drama, no tears. Anyone would look down on me. I knew he never truly respected me. Even if I waited at that cafe, he wouldn't show up. "Alex, I really need the money. Can you please lend it to me? Pride meant nothing now. All I needed was for him to lend me the money. Seeing I wouldn't back off, he turned his head slightly and smiled impatiently. Jessica, can you stop with this? She really is just my sister. Her words might be off-putting, but she doesn't mean harm. About yesterday, I'll apologize on her behalf. On her behalf? And who is he to apologize for her? Was it really just someone else's fault yesterday? Didn't it represent his stance too? Didn't he let them speak like that? If he cared about me, respected me, would his so-called friends, his so-called sister, say those things? I could picture it clearly, how they talked about me when I wasn't there, mocking me, and Alex, listening, probably unfazed, indifferent, but none of that mattered anymore. What they thought of me truly didn't matter. Lend me $1 million, I'll pay you back. His gaze darkened. Jessica, if you're gonna cause a scene, at least have some sense. You know I don't like materialistic women. I clenched my fists to keep my crumbling emotions from spilling over. Alex, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have hit you yesterday. It was my fault. Let me make it up to you. I raised my hand and slapped myself hard across the face. I hated myself so much I could have killed myself. Alex grabbed my wrist before I could slap myself again. You don't have to do this. I clutched his arm like a drowning person grabbing onto the last straw. Lend me $1 million, please. Alex, I swear I'll pay you back. Alex stared at me for a long time. Then suddenly, he smiled. Pay me back? With what? I'll sell my heart, my kidney, everything, whatever it takes. Just please lend me the money. I beg you. He brushed my hand away. Don't make excuses like that. I don't have time to watch you act out a tragedy. And with that, Alex turned and walked away. I chased after him, my voice trembling. My mom's sick. I don't have money for her treatment. Alex didn't look back. He walked straight into the building. I followed, but the security guards blocked me at the door. No matter how I shouted his name, it was useless. I stood there, defeated. Under the scorching sun, the world was loud, but I couldn't hear a thing. No one knew how desperate I was, so desperate I even thought of dying. I was like a trapped beast, whimpering and trying to break free from my cage, but I couldn't escape. In the end, I could only crawl beneath fate's feet, not even daring to die. I looked up, forcing back tears, and walked back in defeat. When I arrived at the hospital, my phone buzzed with 2 messages. One showed a deposit of $1 million. The other read, "This is the end. Remember to pay me back." I stood there frozen. My eyes burned again. And in a blink, tears fell. Was it shame, gratitude, or sorrow? I couldn't tell anymore. They were right. Everything I am is so insignificant. Did Alex even care what was wrong with my mom? He didn't even want to know. My emotions had already collapsed. My pain could no longer be hidden. But he couldn't see it, or didn't want to, even though what we had was broken beyond repair. In that moment, I was still grateful to him. All right. Thank you. Those were the last words I said to him. My family was shattered, and my youth had ended. Chapter 6. When I arrived at the hospital with lunch, Mom was sitting on the bed, staring blankly out the window. Though her condition wasn't great, her spirits seemed all right. When she saw me, she paused for a moment, then frowned. Why do you look so pale? Did you eat anything? Everyone dies eventually. It's just a matter of time. Don't torture yourself over it. Cough, cough. She couldn't even finish her sentence before a harsh coughing fit overtook her. For as long as I can remember, Mom has always had a cough. Dad used to look up all sorts of herbal remedies, making soups and tonics for her. When the weather turned cold, he did almost all the chores. Now that he's gone, Mom's been diagnosed with lung cancer. It's as if they had agreed to leave together. Suddenly, a lump rose in my throat, and tears spilled down. Mom. I could only watch helplessly as she endured the torment of illness. I'm fine. Don't cry, Jessica. Dad's passing hit her the hardest. They fell in love when they were young, stayed together till now, each other's first love. Dad loved Mom more than he loved me. Mom loved Dad more than she loved me. And even now, she could see right through my sadness and force herself to comfort me. I know they loved me, truly. deeply, but now I no longer have the chance to love Dad back. So all I can do is love Mom with everything I have. I lowered my head, setting up the small table tray, and brought lunch in front of her. I'm fine, Mom. Eat something. Get stronger. Don't worry about the rest. I'll handle everything at home. She glanced at the food but didn't eat. Instead, she held my hand and stared at me for a long while. Jessica, your father and I always hoped you'd be happy. No matter what happens, you must move forward bravely. That way, your father can rest easy in heaven. I nodded. I understand, Mom. She gently stroked my hair. My daughter's all grown up now. Chapter 7. In the afternoon. The traffic police called me. They asked me to come over to discuss the handling of Dad's accident. He had been riding an electric tricycle on a rural crossroads when a luxury car hit him. The police deemed him mainly at fault. He hadn't slowed down or yielded to the right. But how fast could a tricycle even go? There were no cameras at that village intersection, and it had been pouring rain. How could they be sure he didn't yield? Naturally, I refused to sign the report. Soon after, the party who hit my dad arrived, and to my shock, it was Lisa. Turns out, the luxury car belonged to her. Though she wasn't driving, it was her chauffeur. When I refused to sign, the driver was about to speak, but Lisa raised her hand to silence him. She crossed her arms, tilted her head at me. What? Trying to scam us? Gone broke. Huh? Your dad died and you finally found a way to profit from it. At least he's worth something now. Too bad he's worth nothing besides that pathetic life. How much do you want? $1 million? Is that enough? She toyed with her manicure. Take that $1 million. Maybe buy Alex a watch. He might actually glance your way. Oh, I heard you borrowed $1 million from Alex to treat your mom? You poor people really love playing the pity card. I heard your mom's got cancer. No money but still want treatment? In the end, you'll lose both the person and the money. What's the point? Why not let your mom get hit by a car too? At least you could make some more cash. Rage exploded inside me. I raised my hand to slap her, but the man beside her grabbed my wrist. You dare hit my lady? Lisa laughed and patted my face mockingly. I suggest you calm down. Hit me once and I'll call the cops. Useless trash. The man shoved me aside, standing protectively in front of her. Get lost, Lisa said. Is $1 million enough? If it is, sign the papers. I don't have time for this. At that moment, signing felt like the only thing I could do. Beyond the money, nothing else mattered. If they could offer a life in return, I wouldn't take anything else. I'll sign once the money arrives. Lisa squinted at me, then burst out laughing. You seriously think I'd give you $1 million? That cheap bastard of a father isn't worth that much. Don't want to sign? Fine, we'll take it to court. I've got time and money to waste on you. Then she walked off. So arrogant, so disdainful. And what could I do? All I had was my impotent fury, nothing more. Chapter 8. The rain had started again. I wandered through the storm like a lifeless corpse, dragged forward by the wind and pouring rain, thinking of Mom, thinking of Dad, thinking of how I had become someone who could be trampled on without resistance. The sky darkened slowly. Through the curtain of heavy rain, a shadow suddenly crashed down right in front of me. A thunderous noise, a massive splash. Water hit my face, flooded my nose and mouth, choking my lungs. The screech of car brakes was deafening. Headlights burned into my eyes, through blurred vision slowly coming into focus. I saw a person lying on the ground. Blood covered her face, mixing with the rain to form a river. The metallic scent of blood filled the air, thick and terrifying, but I knew instantly. It was my mom. Mom! My scream tore through the storm like a banshee's wail. Thunder boomed above me. Lightning streaked across the sky. Everything turned into a slow-motion blur. Memories began to flash before my eyes. Mom, sick but refusing to go to the hospital. Dad, saving every penny just to buy me a new outfit. Mom, worn down from years of hard work. Dad, hunched over from labor. Colorful memories faded into black and white, frame by frame, until they stopped on this very moment. Dad was gone, and now Mom was too, not far away. In the black car with windshield wipers still moving, sat Alex and Lisa. Our eyes met. His expression was complicated. I couldn't read it, But his hand, unbuckling the seatbelt, was shaking. He stumbled out of the car and ran toward me, his legs giving way, collapsing into the water. This pathetic, panicked version of Alex. I had seen it once before, when I first tried to leave him. Somewhere along the line, he changed. He stopped fearing losing me, and I never even noticed. He knelt in front of me, his eyes red, saying something, but I couldn't hear him. I couldn't hear anything at all. A crowd gathered. Voices, sirens, ambulances, police. They all blended into the background of a tragic, everyday horror. And I was the pitiful figure at the center of it, the most miserable, and the most detestable. My mom's trembling hand reached for my face. I grabbed it, pressed it to my cheek, sobbing harder than the rain. Jessica, don't cry. I have cancer. Treatment doesn't matter anymore. Whoever you borrowed money from, pay it back. Okay, don't mourn me, and don't feel alone. All companionship in life has an end, you understand. Blood poured from her mouth. She could no longer say another word. Lisa got out of the car, stood above us with an umbrella, looking down. Auntie, you're really trying to fake an accident like this? You saw my car and still walked out? Then she turned to me. Your whole family's a curse. Why is it always me you try to scam? Huh? Mom shivered and forced a whisper. You ran a yellow light. Lisa snapped. You're just a hick from the countryside. You think you even know what a yellow light means? You. Shut up, Alex shouted, glaring at Lisa. Lisa immediately burst into tears. Alex, you know I didn't mean to hit her. I know, but please, just stop talking, okay? His voice softened a little. He still couldn't forget to comfort Lisa. Mom's hand slipped heavily from mine. Her warmth faded. Her body grew cold. In the howling wind and rain, she left this world. She died in my arms. Chapter 9. This time, with Alex present, Lisa stayed completely quiet throughout the accident handling. She looked genuinely shaken. Alex cooperated with the police and took care of everything. There were traffic cameras at the intersection. Lisa was clearly at fault. No doubt. Alex pulled me outside. I let him drag me, listening as he spoke. The insurance won't cover much, so we won't go through it. Before he could finish, I cut him off. Give me the car that hit my parents. Alex looked down at me for a long moment. When did all this happen at home? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't I tell him? What a ridiculous question. If he had even slightly cared, even paid a little attention, he would have noticed something was wrong. Or maybe he knew and just pretended not to. This kind of minor thing isn't worth telling you. He fell silent again. For a long while, I stared at the ground and asked, that car, can you even make that decision? That car was a birthday gift from Alex. I'm not giving it to you. Lisa's voice suddenly interrupted from the side. She looked at me with such hostility, like I had dug up her family's ancestral grave. I ignored Lisa and quietly lifted my gaze to Alex. Lisa yanked my arm. That car's worth over $8 million. You've got some nerve. Even if I'm completely at fault, your parents' lives aren't worth $8 million. Have some damn shame. I turned to Lisa with a cold, sharp look. Lisa instinctively took a step back. Why are you looking at me like that? If you don't believe me, go ask the traffic cops. I stared straight into her eyes. You're that confident? Then what are you scared of? Who's scared? I withdrew my gaze and looked at Alex again. Yes or no? If not, then we'll do this the legal way. Yes. No. Alex and Lisa spoke at the same time. Alex looked at Lisa, his expression darkening. Lisa immediately softened. Fine. Just get me a new one. Alex nodded. Okay. Rich people really are reckless. Something worth millions, given away just like that. No wonder. Even my shirt that cost over $10,000 was nothing to them. Chapter 10. After my parents were buried, I kneeled in front of their grave all night. I spoke to them, the whole night long. I couldn't sleep. I didn't dare to, because every time I closed my eyes, I would see Mom, covered in blood, dying in my arms, and Dad, pale and lifeless, lying in that hospital bed. I'm sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. I bowed. my head slamming hard against the ground. A long, long time later, I finally stood up, looking at their photo on the tombstone. I gave a faint smile. Then I turned to look at the car parked not far away. Under the sun, it gleamed, luxurious and radiant, just standing there. It didn't belong to my world. I could almost see it again, the very car that struck my parents down. As if it felt nothing, I walked to it, opened the door, stepped on the gas. I once thought it was something noble, untouchable, but it was just a machine, no matter how much it cost. My parents would never come back. What was the point of compensation? Only blood could repay blood. There were no cameras on the country road. For someone with money and power like her, getting the result she wanted was just a matter of snapping her fingers. I checked the dashcam of the car, completely wiped. If she had nothing to hide, why delete it? After Lisa learned my mom had cancer, she ended up dead, and the one who hit her was Lisa's car. Obviously, Lisa had gone to see her. She could provoke me, so she could provoke my mom. I drove to the hospital to check the security footage. Sure enough, Lisa had been in her hospital room. When I left the hospital, it was already night. The lights of 1,000 homes lit up the city, but not a single one was mine. The yellow glow twisted through the streets like vines. I drove around and around the city until deep into the night. On the Riverside Bridge, I finally found the one I had been looking for. Lisa. It's true, Lisa. I have nothing left but my life. But neither do you. Lisa recognized the car. She sped toward me with fury. I stared at her face and slammed my foot on the gas, roaring forward, wild, relentless, straight at her. Chapter 11. At the very last second, a black car suddenly swerved into the road. My car was slammed hard from the side, thrown off balance, and plunged straight off the bridge. That black car, carried by its own inertia, followed me down. Below us, the river surged wildly, black and bottomless in the night, ready to devour everything in an instant. Time slowed down, unreal and dreamlike. I saw Alex in that car. He looked at me, eyes full of sorrow and reluctance, even though I couldn't hear him. I knew exactly what he was saying. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The 3 words I hated most in this world. Only people who are never respected hear those words over and over again. Someone takes your seat. Sorry. You're pushed under the bus. Sorry. Your work gets stolen. Sorry. You get mocked, humiliated. Still, sorry. Even when you're not loved, you're told sorry. Those apologies are worthless. So cheap that I'm sorry feels like another form of punishment. Another wound. Just like now, Alex's I'm sorry dragged up every ounce of grievance buried in me. And suddenly, I was pulled back in time. To the day I first met him. Chapter 12. Back in my first year of college, a few classmates and I took a part-time job as waitstaff at a hotel. It was a high-end hotel, far from campus, in another nearby city. That place had money. The pay was good. I was assigned to a private room filled with locals. They all spoke in dialects, never in standard Mandarin. So when they needed something, I couldn't understand a word. I politely asked them to speak Mandarin. One middle-aged man, clearly drunk, suddenly exploded. F***ku. If you don't understand what we say, why are you even working here? Want me to speak Mandarin? What kind of nonsense is that? Why should I? You outsiders are good for nothing but ruining my mood. It was the first time I had experienced something like that. That kind of person. I turned away, and tears began falling uncontrollably. That only made them angrier. They all joined in, insulting me viciously. Those were the dirtiest words I had ever heard. No one thought they were in the wrong. Everyone blamed me. Even the manager said I wouldn't get paid. I was about to leave quietly when I suddenly heard a scoff. I looked up and saw Alex, leaning against the doorframe. He wore a simple white t-shirt, paired with black jeans. His pale skin looked clean and cool under the lights. He was playing with his phone as he said, "Must be tough living like this. Huh? You all broke wannabe rich losers, never eaten in a place like this before? So you bully a server for fun? Pathetic. What kind of locals are you, anyway?" speaking some half-assed dialect like it's gold. "You think you're something?" Of course. They didn't take that kindly. Someone grabbed a chair, ready to hit him. Two tall bodyguards suddenly appeared behind Alex, and with a swift kick, knocked the guy down. The hotel manager rushed over and helped the man up, whispering something in his ear, and just like that, the room went quiet. I thought Alex was standing up for me. Later, I found out his family owned that hotel. He did it to clean up his own business. Not for me, but still, that night, Alex carved himself into my heart. Chapter 13. Before I paid attention to Alex, he was just another face in the crowd. But once I did, I realized he was anything but ordinary at school. His family was extremely wealthy. Not only did they own hotels, they ran entire companies. Even some of the buildings on campus were sponsored by his family. I knew from the start, he and I lived in completely different worlds. Girls constantly surrounded him, and even more openly chased after him. Aside from that one night, there was no connection between us. He could belong to anyone, but never to me. He would always shine in my memory. A bright figure I'd recall in my old age when I thought about my youth. I thought the rest of my 4 years in college would be spent quietly, nursing a one-sided crush. I never imagined I'd meet Alex again. It was an ordinary afternoon. I was reading in an empty classroom when Alex and a few of his friends walked in. The moment our eyes met, one of his friends teased him. "Hey, isn't that the girl you played the hero for the other night?" My face flushed instantly. I hadn't even had a chance to thank him for that day. I stood up and quietly said, "Thank you." Alex seemed amused. He said playfully, "So, how are you going to thank me?" I was flustered, mostly unsure of what to say. How does someone thank a person like him? Probably with a lot of money, but I didn't have a lot of money. After a long silence, I managed to say, how about I treat you to dinner?" Alex laughed. "Sure." His agreement instantly stressed me out. I counted the cash in my wallet, already worried. In the end, I borrowed some money from a classmate and took Alex to a small restaurant outside campus. That meal cost over 1,000 yuan, my entire monthly living expense, for the rest of the month. I lived off plain buns and pickled vegetables. Chapter 14. Word got out about me borrowing money to treat Alex and living off cheap food afterward. Everyone assumed I was trying to pursue him. I became a joke to them. No way. She wants to chase Alex? Does she even know where she stands? What a joke. She borrowed money to take him to some low-end place? So embarrassing. What a thick face. Their gossip wore me down. I was isolated too, as if being friends with someone like me was shameful. I tried to explain, but no one cared. They kept mocking me, looking down on me. I thought this would be my college life, filled with whispered insults and cold stares. But unexpectedly, Alex appeared beside me, in the huge lecture hall. He sat right next to me, openly, along with his friends. He said calmly, "I made her treat me. Is that a problem?" One of his friends chimed in, "You guys really have too much free time to gossip like that. Jessica's our friend. It's just a meal. What's the big deal?" Alex speaking up didn't make things better for me. It only fueled more rumors. That Alex liked me. That he was chasing me. Girls who thought highly of themselves, or believed they were better than me, started to resent me even more. Some even cornered me in the dorm, threatened me, cursed me, told me to stay away from Alex. I tried everything to handle it. Nothing worked. I thought my college life would drown in this chaos. But Alex came to me again. He said he liked me. He said he wanted to pursue me. When he said it, I didn't feel happy. I only felt like a man like him could only bring a knife into my life. I'm from the countryside. I've seen too much ugliness growing up. People who despise you for being poor, fear you when you rise, hate when you have, laugh when you don't, bully you when you're weak, envy you when you're strong. Someone like Alex, he couldn't possibly love someone like me. His family climbed to the top of a pyramid made of human ugliness. He wasn't meant to love someone like me. Objectively, I had little to offer. I was decent looking, did well in school, but that was nothing to someone like him. So, I ran. I avoided him. I rejected him. But my indifference only intrigued him more. In his world, he could snap his fingers and any girl would come to him. But I didn't fall for him, and that lit up his desire to conquer. He pursued me fiercely. Different flowers every day. A different version of himself every day. Alex's pursuit was like the romance I'd always dreamed of. I thought, I'm still young. Why not love wildly? Just once? With or without him. People would talk behind my back anyway. Might as well make myself happy. Even if it was all just a dream. I could afford to lose. And just like that, Alex and I were together. Chapter 14. The first time I truly decided to leave Alex was during the winter of my sophomore year. There was a New Year's Eve party going on inside. He thought it was too noisy, so he stepped out to chat with his friends. On my way to the restroom, I overheard them joking around. You got with Jessica over a bet. Now you've won, don't break up. And you'll owe each of us a red envelope with 88,888 yuan. Alex laughed. Relax. If I want to dump her, it's a matter of minutes. Snow was falling heavily, swept by biting wind. It slapped against my face. So cold. I reached out, catching a snowflake. It melted instantly in my palm, just like our relationship. Gone in an instant. I told Alex I wanted to break up. I ignored his explanations, his pleas. I was firm. Alex was a proud man. When had he ever been rejected like that? He never saw me as irreplaceable. Soon, more girls appeared at his side, and he made sure to parade each one past me. The mocking whispers returned, but this time, I didn't care. I had truly decided. We were done for good. We were never meant to last. So ending it didn't hurt as much as I'd expected. What I didn't expect was that the one who broke first during our Cold War was Alex. It was the first time I ever saw fear on his face. But unlike others, he didn't beg or cling to me. He simply did everything he could for me. Quietly, relentlessly. That year, my father leased over 100 acres of farmland in our village. Because the wheat harvest was good, jealousy followed. Troublemakers stirred things up. And fights broke out. One day, after yet another dispute, my dad was beaten so badly he ended up in the hospital with fractured bones. The man who attacked him had connections to the village committee and the local police. He said my dad deserved it, and laughed, saying even the police wouldn't help. He wouldn't pay a cent. Worse, he used the chance to steal the land lease, and came to our house to harass my mom while dad was in the hospital. My parents never told me any of this. I had no idea what was happening at home. It was Alex who stepped in and solved everything. He was rich, powerful. Those connections meant nothing to him. The attacker not only paid the full compensation, but also went to jail for several years. Even the village officials and the police officers involved lost their jobs. People in the village thought my dad had somehow made big connections. Everyone came to visit him, all vowing to let him keep the land lease. Even the attacker's family came to apologize. It was all too surreal, all because of Alex. Before, whenever my parents had trouble, they'd swallow it silently. There was never justice, just endurance. But this time, not only was justice served, people started looking at my family with newfound respect. My dad tried to ask around, but Alex never revealed his identity. Dad thought it was divine justice. Bad people finally got what they deserved. One of Alex's friends, annoyed that he did a good deed without credit, secretly told my dad the truth. So during a phone call one day, my dad casually mentioned it, said that someone named Alex was a good man, had helped our family a lot, and that I should thank him properly someday. That was when I realized how much Alex had done for me. For him, it was probably nothing, just the flick of a finger. But for my family, it felt like heaven had finally opened its eyes. Chapter 15. All those distant memories, only now did they start to attack me. So it turns out, he had once truly given me his heart. What he did for me was far more than I ever remembered. Thinking back carefully, maybe I loved Alex more deeply. But what he did for me far outweighed what I ever did for him. Even after we reached the point of no return, when no one else was willing to lend me money. He still gave me 1,000,000 yuan, whether it was real or fake love. It no longer mattered. The person who brought me the most pain was also the one I owed the most gratitude. I couldn't go on loving him. But neither could I hate him anymore. Chapter 16. The memories faded, but consciousness did not return. Water filled my mouth and nose. The oxygen in my lungs slipped away, and with it, my senses. Let me die like this. Then I wouldn't have to feel sorrow or pain anymore. Life is too long. I didn't want to walk it alone. As the darkness swallowed me whole, I heard the sound of glass shattering. A car window. I thought I saw Alex, desperately swimming toward me. I smiled at him. He shook his head at me, pleading silently, begging me not to die. In his eyes, there was something deep, a feeling so heavy. It pulled me back to that first summer we met. And then, my tears began to fall. I surrendered myself to the water, to that drowning darkness, until I could see nothing at all. Chapter 17. When I opened my eyes again, the sharp scent of disinfectant filled my nose. The sunlight was blinding. I instinctively raised my hand to shield my eyes. When I felt the warmth of the sun on my skin, I knew I didn't die. It took me a while to adjust before I could fully open my eyes. Outside the window, the sky was crystal clear and the sun was shining brightly. It was as if nothing had happened. Just another ordinary afternoon. Only, the numbers labeled Dad and Mom in my phone will never pick up again. Never again will my parents come rushing to see me. In this world now, there's only me. A nurse came in. Seeing me awake, she hurried to get the doctor. I stopped her. I'm fine. Could you help me to the restroom first? She turned around and helped me up. This was a VIP room. Definitely Alex's style. Everything had to be the best. Alex. His desperate attempt to save me surfaced in my mind again. I didn't know how he managed to pull me out. But the suffocation, the drowning, he must have felt it just like I did. Maybe just a few seconds later. And we both would have died. What made him throw his life away to save me? Was it love? No, definitely not. If he loved me, he wouldn't have looked down on the gifts I gave him. He wouldn't have allowed his friends to mock me like that. Maybe he had feelings for me, but it was not love. I asked the nurse. The man who saved me, where is he? She replied. He's in another room, taking care of another girl. I heard she's his childhood sweetheart, his girlfriend. Lisa. What happened to her? She was in a car accident, but it wasn't serious. Her boyfriend's so worried though, visits her every day. Is that so? Yep, though that girl's a bit dramatic. Always demanding this and that. That handsome guy runs around non-stop for her. I didn't say anything, just quietly listened to the nurse talk about Alex and Lisa. Like a tale of romance that others would envy. I heard they're getting engaged soon. Perfect match, wealth, background, looks, all aligned. I also heard her bracelet is worth millions. And saving you? That was just a coincidence. His real goal was to save her. If Alex hadn't swerved his car that moment, Lisa would have died for sure. Of course, so would I. But his purpose was saving Lisa. Saving me was just part of saving her, because it was Lisa who first drove her car toward mine. The area was full of surveillance. Anyone could see it was Lisa's fault. He didn't want Lisa to be charged as a killer, so he fought to save me. Alex. His emotions were still deep, still intense. Only now, they were no longer meant for me. Chapter 18. While the nurse went to call the doctor, I slipped out of the hospital room. I didn't want to owe Alex anything anymore, and I didn't want to stay in that hospital a second longer. As soon as I stepped outside, I saw Alex pushing Lisa through the garden in a wheelchair. Behind them trailed a small crowd of servants. One held snacks, one held drinks, one carried a blanket. Alex, I want strawberry cake. Go get it for me. Am I supposed to grow 3 heads and 6 arms? You want me to stay here with you and run off to buy cake? Why don't you just take me with you? You're so stupid. All right, I'm stupid. Even after 4 years of dating Alex, I had never seen this kind of doting love from him. What he gave me was usually just the kind of help that cost him nothing, a flick of the wrist. But that flick of the wrist was something my family would have to sacrifice everything to accomplish. Between him and me, there was never true equality. He gave me a lot, yes, but he never needed anything from me. Not my gifts, not my help, because everything I could buy, he didn't need, and everything I could do was of little use to him. Maybe everything he did for me wasn't because he loved me so much, but because it made him feel good. And in return, he'd receive all of my love and gratitude. He and Lisa, they were the ones who were truly equals, balanced. I almost laughed. Lisa, a girl like her, had someone who pampered her, spoiled her, let her live like she was a queen. I watched as Alex lifted her from the wheelchair and into the car. The car's taillights blinked once, then merged into traffic, headed straight for the glitzy heart of the city. And suddenly, I no longer wanted to die. I wanted to live, and live well. Chapter 19. I went home. Everything looked the same. Dad's old tractor still sat in the yard. Mom's freshly washed shoes were still hanging out to dry. I opened the freezer. Inside were the dumplings Mom had made, and the fish Dad had cleaned. At noon, I sat down to eat the dumplings, and cried. Grief always comes silently, wrapping around me like a cold wind, and whenever a memory surfaces, tears follow like a flood. Jessica, you're home? I wiped my tears and looked toward the door. It was Dominic, our old neighbor. His parents died in a plane crash when he was in 6th grade. His grandparents, worried rural life would hurt his emotional well-being, took him abroad with the compensation money. Since then, I hadn't seen him, so I wasn't sure it was him at first. I hesitantly called out, "Dominic?" He nodded, stepped inside, glanced at the dumplings on my table, then at my face. He reached into his pocket and handed me a folded note. "I heard what happened to your family. Maybe words from others don't mean much, because they can't truly relate. But Jessica, I can. If you want to cry, then cry. Scream if you have to." From the moment my dad got hurt, then my mom, I had bottled up so much. No one comforted me. No one listened. Not that I needed them to. Most people wouldn't understand. They'd just toss out a quick sorry for your loss. Or worse, they'd say things like, "Didn't we tell you? Your parents worked too hard. Now look." No amount of money can save them. But now, suddenly someone offered me real comfort, and my emotions collapsed all at once. I buried my face on the table and sobbed, loudly, uncontrollably. Only now did I truly let everything out. Time passed. The sky slowly darkened. Stars climbed overhead. And somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Dominic used the vegetables my parents had grown to make a simple dinner. As I ate, I asked, "Did you come back for something?" My grandparents passed away. They wanted to rest in their homeland. I froze. So when he said he could empathize, he wasn't lying. In this world now, he was the only one left too. Chapter 20. After dinner, Dominic and I went to the cemetery together. His grandparents were buried on the same hill as my parents, in the vast, silent mountains. Occasional sounds echoed through the darkness, as if spirits were weeping. When I was young, I feared the night the most. I feared the graveyard even more. But now, I wished that ghosts were real, so I could see my parents one more time, in this cruel moment when I needed them most. "Jessica." Dominic looked at my parents' tombstones as he called my name. "HM? Come abroad with me. Let's start a new life together." I turned my gaze toward the hills in the distance, thinking in silence for a long, long time. "Okay, Dad, Mom. Please forgive me for being so weak. I'm just in too much pain here." Chapter 21. That night, Alex finally received the call from the hospital. "Mr. Fu, has Miss Gu contacted you? What happened?" "Miss Gu is missing." Alex hung up immediately. He stood up at once and told Lisa, "I have something to take care of. I need to go." Lisa put down her chopsticks, annoyed. "What is it this time? Jessica again?" Alex denied flatly. "No, stop pretending. Who else could it be but her?" He didn't respond. He turned to leave. Lisa slammed her bowl on the table and grabbed his arm. You seriously think you and her can get back together after everything? I almost died because of her, and you still want to find her? Alex yanked his arm free. You brought this on yourself. Then he walked away, coldly, mercilessly. Stop acting like you're so in love. Alex! Lisa shouted. You never even thought about being with her seriously. You never respected her. You always knew she wasn't someone you'd marry. You could date her, sure, but marry? Never. Every time she needed you, you weren't there, because deep down, you never cared. You know the one you're supposed to marry is me. Only I, Lisa, and the Lee family are worthy of you. Alex stopped in his tracks. Lisa stood, gripping his hand. From the moment you threw away the clothes she gave you, you and her were done. She'll never go back to you again. Not to someone who tossed her aside so easily. If even her parents' deaths can't wake her up, and she still goes back to you, then she's just trash with no dignity. Alex's eyes turned bloodshot. He couldn't say a single word. He didn't know what was happening to him anymore. All along, he thought he was the one in control. After all her problems, he could solve them with a snap of his fingers. Her life, her suffering, was worth no more than a drink to him. She adored him, worshipped him. She'd never leave him. She'd always be willing to stay. Give him everything she had, until he got bored. But every time he discarded her, he'd regret it. When he heard her parents had died, he was terrified she might take her own life. So he followed her in secret, and when he saw her drive straight toward Lisa like she had nothing to lose, his heart shot to his throat. That instant of fear, he acted without thinking, and swerved his car right into the path, falling into the river along with her. He didn't even know what he was thinking. In that moment, even dying seemed worth it. He saved her, and fell unconscious for a long time. When he woke up, he thought he was a fool. He had almost thrown his life away. A man could fight for power and money, but never for a woman. So since waking up, he hadn't gone to see her once. He stayed with Lisa. She was the one he was supposed to marry. But deep down, he still believed Jessica wouldn't leave. She would wait, just nearby, because no one else in the world would treat her the way he did, even if she held resentment. He was sure that when she remembered everything he had done for her, she'd be grateful. She'd stay. She was wounded. Where else could she go? She wouldn't leave him. She would never leave him. Chapter 22. Alex went to the hospital. Jessica's room was completely empty. Aside from the sterile smell of disinfectant, there was nothing left of her. Not a trace. He searched every corner, but she was nowhere to be found. He pulled out his phone and called her, but it was off. He dialed again and again. Still nothing. Panic began to spread in his chest like wildfire. Terrified that she might try to end her life again, he quickly called his assistant and told them to contact the police. He got in his car and started driving aimlessly around the city. He thought, maybe, at the next intersection, he'd see her standing there alone. But no, every face he passed wasn't hers. Every time his phone buzzed even a little, his heart jumped. He was afraid the next message he'd receive would be news of her death. Without realizing it, his car ended up in front of Jessica's family home. The gates were locked tight. He broke the lock and went in. He searched every room, front and back, but still, no Jessica. But in the kitchen, he saw signs that someone had recently cooked. His heart, suspended all this time, finally lowered just a little, but he still couldn't calm down. Where was she? What was she doing? Was someone hurting her? Was there anyone looking after her? The moon hung high. The stars were few. He sat slumped on the steps of the main room, staring up at the clear night sky. And then, he remembered. That autumn, the year he first pursued her, during the October break. He had sent her so many messages. She didn't respond to a single one. That night, shamelessly, he called her over and over. She finally answered. Late into the night, she didn't speak, but he could hear her soft breathing, the distant sound of insects and birds. His heart tickled. Jessie Lou, Did you see the messages I sent you? What do you want? Her voice was so quiet, as if afraid someone in her house might hear. In that moment, his heart melted like sugar. He laughed. Why are you being so sneaky? It's like we're having an affair. Shut up. Did you miss me? You're insane. Why didn't you reply? I've got work to do every day. Not everyone's as free as you. What kind of work? Work you'll never do in your whole life. She hung up right after that. The next day, he brought a whole group with him and found her house. It was locked. After asking around, they were told she was working in the fields. When he found her, she was kneeling, stripping corn cobs. It was the first time he'd seen real corn, and the first time he saw her. So capable and strong, he would never forget how flustered and shy she looked when she saw him. Her cheeks flushed red, like the blazing sunset. And somehow, his heart burned too. He imitated her, stripping corn until he collapsed into the stalks. His expensive clothes, worth more than her whole harvest, were smeared with dirt and sap. He thought, he must be crazy. But the moment he looked over at her, he felt a jolt of energy. He jumped up, kept working. 2 more acres. Her parents asked who they were. He quickly said, "School sent us to do rural labor. No charge, just hard work." She couldn't help but laugh. She lowered her head, muttering, "You're insane." And he laughed with her. Her family had so much land. His spoiled friends could barely keep up. It took them 3 or 4 days to finish the work. At night, his friends went back to the city, disgusted by the countryside. Only he stayed, thick-skinned and stubborn. That night, he lay on the rooftop, gazing at the stars, thinking of her. Just beneath that roof, his heart thumped faster and faster. He messaged her, "Too many mosquitoes. Bring me some repellent." "No, I told you not to sleep up there. You deserve it." But despite her words, she brought the repellent anyway. She wore a white cotton dress. When she saw him, she blushed again. Under the moonlight, she looked so beautiful. He couldn't look away. She tried lighting the coil but failed a few times. He took the lighter from her hands. "Block the wind for me." She did, obediently, holding up her hands. Her pale forehead was right in front of him, a hint of her shampoo drifting through the breeze. He couldn't hold back anymore. He kissed her forehead. She gasped. He quickly covered her mouth. She stared at him wide-eyed and slapped him. She didn't hit hard, afraid of alerting her parents. But to him, that slap was joy. He grabbed her hand and jokingly slapped himself a few more times. She tried to escape, and he hugged her tightly, whispered in her ear, "Be my girlfriend, okay?" She pushed him away and ran down the stairs. He stayed there, still in the position she had shoved him into, grinning stupidly at the moon. Her parents were so thankful. They cooked him a feast, better than any luxury meal he'd ever had. They packed him fruit and vegetables when he left. When he got home, his family asked where he'd been. He lied, said he went to a farmhouse for vacation. That memory, it returned now like bullets, each one striking him right in the heart. Turns out, from the moment he met her, he already knew the ending. Back then, when his family asked, he instinctively hid the truth. His life had already been mapped out. He was meant to marry Lisa from the Lee family. He was meant to grow the Fu empire, not to get caught in something as useless as love. Love, just once, just enough to taste. If forced to choose between love and power, he would never choose love. Only fools choose love. The smart ones choose power and wealth. Generations of the Fu family had lifted him to this golden pedestal, not so he could drown in meaningless romance. He lay back down on the roof, closed his eyes, and let the memories assault him. Something slipped from the corner of his eye. Only then did he realize he was crying. His story with her ended here. From now on, whether she lived or died, she had nothing to do with him. Chapter 23. It was only after arriving abroad that I realized, when Dominic invited me to build a future together, he had just been being polite. He already owned a media company, and it wasn't a small one. Many well-known artists in recent years were under his agency, but the problem his company was facing wasn't a lack of resources. It was a lack of good scripts. Audiences were tired of cliché, overused plotlines. What they craved was something fresh. And as it happened, I majored in directing and screenwriting. Dominic believed I could bring something new to the table. His expectations made me feel guilty. I was just a fresh graduate, with little experience, hardly someone who could carry such a responsibility. "Jessica, just go for it," he said. "I'll back you no matter what. Even if it fails, it's okay. Trying something new always comes with risk." I shook my head. Trying something new should be a calculated risk. "I'm a complete rookie. No one starts out experienced," he replied. "It's always about someone daring to give you a shot, and you daring to take it. If it works out, that's experience. If it doesn't, it's still experience, right? Jessica, you should do this boldly." His words encouraged me. "I'll try." Even though Dominic had my back, I didn't want to let him down. Luckily, I had years of reading novels under my belt. I'd also participated in adaptations before. Dominic gave me access to a stack of best-selling novels his company had bought. I picked one I liked and began adapting it into a screenplay. What looked simple on the surface turned out to be incredibly difficult. I had to preserve the essence of the original while injecting fresh perspective. It was almost like writing a brand new novel from scratch. I threw myself into the work, obsessing over every single detail. I often worked until deep into the night, falling asleep without even realizing it. In those endless lines of text, my mind built entire worlds. Sad, painful, embarrassing, hopeful. I often saw my mom's eyes, from the moment before she died, and Lisa's arrogant, scornful smirk, every time I woke up. My fists were clenched tight, my nerves trembling. One night, I felt someone holding my hand. "Jessica, I'm here." It sounded like Alex. Suddenly, thunder crashed outside. I struggled to break free from his hand, but couldn't. "Go away." He brought me sunlight, but also dragged me into darkness. Should I hate him or thank him? The two emotions ripped at my soul, the pain unbearable. "Jessica, Jessica." Someone was shouting my name by my ear. Echoing, heavy. I covered my ears. "Go away, go away." But they grabbed my hand tighter, shouting louder, "Wake up." I tried to open my eyes, but my eyelids felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. "Jessica, open your eyes. It's over now. It's all over." The darkness above my head slowly began to shift. A sliver of sunlight pierced through the cracks. Someone had shattered my soul, but someone else was healing the wound, the sorrow, the pain, the humiliation, the helplessness. Under the sunlight, they slowly became transparent. The story was approaching its end, and I finally opened my eyes. When my vision focused, I saw a sharply contoured face. Dominic's face, just a breath away from mine. His eyes were slightly red, pain clouding his gaze. I looked down and gently moved away from him. "Why are you here?" Dominic looked at me quietly. "Nightmare?" I smiled, trying to sound light. Maybe I've read too many novels lately. My dreams have been wild. But Dominic didn't laugh. "Jessica," he said, "you don't have to pretend everything's fine with me. I won't think less of you. I understand the pain of losing someone. Everyone thinks the worst moment is the moment you lose them. But the truth is, what's even harder is every dream after that. Waking up alone in a quiet room, when the sun rises, and you realize you'll never see their familiar silhouette again. When the breeze passes, and it'll never again touch their hair." Tears began to fall, silent and steady. I quickly wiped them away. Dominic handed me a tissue. "Jessica, we should learn how to hide our pain, but we should also learn how to let it out." I took the tissue and wiped the tears that wouldn't stop flowing. I know. Chapter 24. When the first movie I adapted premiered, it wasn't a huge hit, but it did gain attention. Some praised it, some criticized it. I read every comment carefully. Dominic came over and closed my laptop. "Don't read those. What really matters are the data and profits." I gave a faint smile. I know, the worst thing for a piece of work isn't getting bashed. It's getting ignored. You don't have to worry, I can't handle the criticism. Dominic. I'm okay. Dominic looked into my eyes and sighed. You don't need to carry all this pressure. I'm here for you. I lowered my head. You're my boss. I want to be of value to you. I don't want people to say you're wasting your time on a failure. Dominic smiled. Just having you by my side. That's already the greatest value. I laughed lightly. What value? He stopped smiling and looked at me seriously. Emotional value. That vague, ambiguous phrase startled me into silence. I didn't lift my head. I didn't speak. Dominic's voice came from above. Jessica, why won't you look at me? I shook my head, still silent. After a long pause, I heard him sigh. Don't overthink it. When I say emotional value, I mean having a childhood friend beside me, reminding me that I'm not alone in this world. I finally exhaled. Thank you, Dominic. For what? For helping me at the lowest point in my life. And you helped me at mine. I looked up and smiled at him. Then let's keep moving forward. Together. Chapter 25. From then on, adapting scripts came more and more naturally to me. First a minor hit. Then a major one. Then a breakthrough. Then a massive breakout. From small buzz to mega success. It took me 8 years. I finally found my footing in the screenwriting world. I became a top-tier writer. One the industry fought over. Any script, as long as it wasn't hopeless, could be revived in my hands. Even the cheesiest, most dramatic plots, given a new expression, could still move audiences to tears. Over the years, many companies offered me high salaries, but I never wavered. I stayed with Dominic for 8 years. My life revolved around work. It was exhausting, but fulfilling. I still dreamed about my parents sometimes, but no longer with the kind of grief that paralyzed me. I often wondered, if I'd never met Alex, would my life have turned out differently? If I hadn't met him, I probably would have lived like many ordinary people, finished school, worked hard, chased money, and when tragedy struck my parents, if I'd had money and connections, maybe I wouldn't have had only tears and rage to face Lisa with. 8 years later, maybe it was time for those past events to finally get a fair verdict. There was a knock at the office door. I looked up. Dominic was leaning against the doorframe, half smiling. I've decided to go back to China. Why? No reason really. I just want to go home. This place never felt like home. I nodded. I want to go back too. To see home again. Chapter 26. Dominic quickly began shifting his business focus back to China. When we returned, it was the peak of summer once again. 8 years, a long time in the journey of life. But just a blink in the grand passage of time. Everything here was nearly the same as the day I left. Yet, the moment I stood on this land again, my eyes welled with tears. Maybe that's what people mean by the power of home. Dominic came with me to visit my house. Even after 8 years, the front yard was still clean. The weeds hadn't overgrown. I pushed open the door. The courtyard inside was tidy too. The furniture had no dust. It almost felt like someone had been living here all along. As if my parents had never left. I thought Dominic must have hired someone to clean it regularly. As I turned around, my eyes stung with emotion. Thank you, Dominic. He blinked in surprise, then smiled, ruffling my hair. No need for thanks between us. After settling in, Dominic went with me to the mountain cemetery. As the dusk settled around us, I saw someone standing in front of my parents' graves. A slender figure in a black suit. Even after all this time, I recognized him instantly. I froze. Time seemed to rewind, and every memory surged back like a wave. Back then, even in my worst moments, I thought I should be grateful to Alex for all the things he had done for me that I could never repay. But now, I felt that all of my misfortunes had started with him. The college rumors, the insults, the disrespect from Lisa. If he had never barged into my life, maybe I would have lived peacefully. Maybe my family would have stayed whole. I took out my phone and tapped in a few digits. A second later, Alex's phone chimed. He picked it up, glanced at the screen, and visibly froze. He turned around abruptly. When he saw me, it was as if he'd turned to stone. He didn't move for a long time. It was Dominic's voice that finally broke the stillness. "Excuse me, sir, but who are you? Why are you here?" Alex looked at Dominic, then back at me. "You came back." His voice was hoarse, like someone who'd been sick for a long time. I didn't answer. He shifted uncomfortably and continued. "The million you owe me, forget it. You know I only said that in anger. If I hadn't seen him, I might not have remembered the money at all, but now that I had, I transferred it to him. $1 million meant nothing to me anymore. What I owed him, what could be repaid, was just that $1 million. The rest? All those years of convenient generosity. Those were things he chose to give. I didn't owe him gratitude for that." Dominic stepped in front of me, though he didn't know all the details between Alex and me. He instinctively gave the correct response. "Repaying debt is a matter of principle. You can say you don't need it, but Jessica has to repay it." Alex finally turned his eyes toward Dominic. His gaze went from soft to cold, and he asked, "Who are you?" Dominic replied calmly, "Who I am has nothing to do with you." Chapter 27. Alex's emotions were a little unstable. He asked me, "Who is he?" There was a trace of displeasure mixed in with his disbelief. As if, after all these years, my heart should still belong only to him. As if no other man should exist in my world. See, that's just how he is, perpetually above everyone else. In his eyes, I was always that worthless woman. My parents had passed. I'd suffered endless humiliation. And yet, I was still supposed to hold on to feelings for him. Suddenly, I found it laughable. "Does it have anything to do with you? Who is he to you?" He kept pressing. "He's the most important person in my life. If you've got nothing else to say, then please leave." I looked at him calmly, my tone flat and emotionless, as if I were facing a stranger. After all these years, I had finally made peace with those rotten emotions of my youth. Alex was probably trying to read something in my eyes, but he was disappointed. There was nothing there. He looked like a child who had just been abandoned, finally defeated. His eyes lowered, brows downcast. "I'm sorry," he said. "Another I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize to me. I don't need your redemption. Please leave. I don't want my parents to be disturbed." He nodded and stumbled away. That once rebellious arrogance of his, that condescending air he always carried, had vanished without a trace. In its place was a quiet sense of ruin. Maybe it was just my imagination. How could someone like him ever fall into ruin? He was the favored son of fate, the one who had everything, the one destined for success and glory. The mountain wind blew, carrying the scent of fresh grass. Dominic's grandparents and parents' graves were just a short distance away. After paying respects to my parents, Dominic had gone there to visit them. The weeds had grown waist-high, and Dominic began clearing them by hand. In front of my parents' grave were still the flowers Alex had left. The area was clean, neat, free of overgrowth. I picked up Alex's flowers and tossed them into the valley, around Dominic's family's graves. The weeds were thick and wild. Clearly, no one had been hired to maintain them. Only then did I understand the cleanliness of the house, the quiet order of this place. It was all thanks to Alex. I didn't know why he did it. Among all the lies and false affection between us, there was this one inexplicable act of care. But really, aside from disgusting me, what did it even mean? Chapter 28. Once everything had settled, I returned to work. But this time, my work included something more. A knock came at the office door. My assistant entered, handing me a file. "President Gu, Alex and Lisa are married now. They have a son, but rumor has it their relationship isn't good. Apparently, ever since they got married, Alex has lived separately. Some even suspect the child isn't his. Also, the Lee family has been declining in recent years. To maintain their status, they've gotten involved in illegal industries. Tax evasion and fraud are commonplace. Should we take action?" I shook my head. No need for me to do anything. Killing someone is easy. Just like that time I drove at Lisa. Had things gone as planned, her life would have ended in an instant, but I would have paid with mine. Back then, I was foolish. To risk my life for someone like Lisa? Not worth it. What I want is for them to suffer through the kind of pain where even the air feels heavy. I want them to feel what it's like to grasp desperately for a lifeline and find nothing. I want them to taste what it means to be looked down upon. Chapter 29. I drove to the bridge again, the one where I once tried to crash into Lisa. I stayed there for a long time, even in summer. By the river, the night didn't feel cold, leaning against the railing with a bottle of wine. I looked out at the city, its flashing lights and glimmering skyline. 8 years, and at last, I could drink freely. Gazing into the heart of the city without trembling, it no longer felt like a past I couldn't touch. It was just a city, in the quiet hours before dawn. Someone leaned beside me. He reeked of alcohol. I didn't need to look. I knew it was Alex, but I said anyway. Dominic, you've been drinking again? The man beside me seemed triggered, drunk and agitated. He spun me around with force. He stared into my eyes. Look at me, see who I am. I pretended to be dazed from drinking, and patted his face. You're Dominic. K Dominic, I'm Alex. Alex. Alex? I frowned. What kind of garbage is that? Why would you bring up that piece of trash? You really hate Alex? He asked. I smiled. I hate him. Didn't you already know that? If it weren't for him, maybe my parents wouldn't be dead. Maybe my family wouldn't have been torn apart. I leaned against Dominic's shoulder, tears falling freely. Alex held me tightly, his voice raw. Your parents' accident, it was just that, an accident. Why put the blame on Alex? I sobbed as I answered. If it hadn't been for Alex's birthday, I would have gone home earlier. My dad wouldn't have gone out for that delivery. My mom wouldn't have fallen into such sorrow. Wouldn't have gotten so sick. Even with cancer, she wouldn't have died like that. I spent all my money to buy Alex a shirt, but never bought my parents a single decent thing. And when I think about how he threw that shirt in the trash, when I think about Lisa mocking me, I feel disgusting. So cheap I don't even deserve to live. If someone had to die, it should have been me. Every word I spoke stabbed into Alex's heart. He trembled with remorse. I'm sorry. Jesse, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If I'd known how unforgettable I'd be to you, I would have done everything differently. 8 years. I thought time would make me forget you. I thought I didn't care about love anymore. But my heart's been dead. No one, nothing, moved me, until that day I saw you again. Standing by your parents' grave, it was like my blood reversed in my veins. My chest was being torn open. That's when I knew. My heart still worked. It's just that you were the only one who could stir it. Jesse, I love you. I love you so much. Please, come back to me. I smirked, eyes dark. But you're married now. Alex didn't hesitate. If you come back, I'll divorce her immediately. What about the child? That child's not mine. Lisa and I haven't. We never had that kind of relationship. My heart's always been with you. I froze for a second. I hadn't expected Alex to know the child wasn't his. But even knowing that, he still raised the child. Still upheld the marriage. Just for appearances. That's how far his obsession with power went. Greater than love. Greater than me. I suddenly shoved him away, as if I'd just recognized who he was. Alex, you've had too much to drink. I immediately pulled out my phone and called Dominic to come pick me up. He arrived quickly. I didn't even glance at the broken, drunken, and helpless Alex. I got into Dominic's car and left him there behind me, where he belonged. Chapter 30. The car sped through the midnight streets. Since picking me up, Dominic hadn't said a single word. I leaned against the window, watching his reflection in the glass, his lips pressed into a hard line, jaw tightly clenched. He was angry. I could tell, But I didn't feel like explaining. After all, there was no happy ending between him and me. My ability to love had long been depleted. I no longer had the capacity to give affection. Dominic deserved someone better, at the very least. Someone who could love him back. And I couldn't. The car pulled into the Dongjiang Moon Villas and came to an abrupt stop in front of my house. Well, technically, Dominic's house too. We lived in the same neighborhood. We were neighbors. I opened the door, ready to get out, but Dominic suddenly grabbed my hand. I told you, I'd help you deal with the Li family and the Fu family. So why did you? He paused, trying to calm down. Why go back to Alex after everything? Aren't you afraid? I looked at him and said, afraid? What more do I have to lose? Dominic, thank you for your kindness, but revenge is something I have to do myself to find peace. Maybe revenge isn't even the right word. It's more like a reckoning. They'll never understand my pain until they've lived a day in my life. Chapter 31. After that drunken encounter, Alex didn't contact me for days. I knew he was struggling, because choosing me meant losing a lot. Status, power, love. You can't have everything, even though I wasn't who I used to be. In comparison to the prestigious Fu family, my background was still too lowly to be presentable. If our relationship were to become public, it would shake everything. His family's reputation, his company's alliances, his carefully balanced ties with the Li family, all of it would collapse. Alex was never the type to give up everything for a woman. 8 years ago, even when I was at my most vulnerable, he watched me suffer with indifference. And even later, when his marriage to Lisa crumbled, he never divorced her, never sought another woman, and never once came to find me. Only now, after seeing me again, drunk and reckless, could he whisper I love you? So long as he's sober, he'll always stay composed, always in control. But the more he wants control, the more I refuse to let him have it. After working 8 years in media and PR, I knew better than anyone the power of public opinion. I sent a photo to the paparazzi of Alex hugging me that night by the river. His face was clear, mine, blurry and obscured. The moment it hit the internet, it blew up, but not for long. The Fu family quickly suppressed it. Still, no matter how fast it was buried, Lisa must have seen it. Others might not recognize me, but Lisa, she would. Even if she and Alex ignored each other. The fact that Alex, 8 years faithful to silence, suddenly had a rumor flare up with me, had to sting. Sure enough, impatient Lisa came looking for me the next day. To say she found me wasn't quite right. I'd been waiting for her. By the riverside, she stormed toward me, face twisted with rage. She didn't waste a second. I thought you were dead. Shame you're not. God, you're disgusting. I smiled faintly. Not as disgusting as you. You're not just filthy. You don't even know who your baby daddy is. Do you? Her face turned from livid to panicked. You lost your parents, and now you want to rekindle with Alex? You're shameless. If I were you, I'd have thrown myself into that river already. What a disgrace you are to your dead family. Hearing her mention my parents, I clenched my molars so tight, I almost broke them. I held the smile on my face and replied, why would I die? No, I'll stay right here. Get back together with Alex. And make you the joke of the entire high society. Your parents and in-laws won't dare show their faces. You should be the one throwing yourself into the river. That photo, though taken down, had already planted itself in the collective memory of the elite. Lisa lost it. She raised her hand to slap me. I didn't dodge. Let her slap land. But then, Alex appeared. He caught Lisa's arm midair, and a sharp smack echoed as he slapped her across the face. A glaring red print spread across her cheek. He'd hit her hard. Lisa looked at him in disbelief. You hit me? Still reeking of alcohol, Alex spat out with disgust. Don't ever come near her again, or you'll regret it. You'll regret it? Are you crazy? Alex wasn't crazy. He was drunk, but only in drink. Could he show his revolting feelings for me? He ignored Lisa. Turned to gently touch my face. Why didn't you dodge? I smacked his hand away. Cold. Don't be fake, Alex. Guys like you, even if I dodged, you'd still destroy me. Lisa did what she did because I let her. Because you let her. So stop making excuses for your cowardice. I don't blame you for not defending me. It's my fault I was weak. So do me a favor, stay away. Don't bring more disaster into my life. I only have this one life. Alex, if you want me dead, just say so. His hand hovered midair. His face a mess of guilt and sorrow. Before he could speak, I cut him off. Don't say I'm sorry. It's disgusting. Then I turned, got in my car, and left. Behind me, Alex and Lisa stood frozen, those two toxic souls, finally imploding, in the rearview mirror. I watched Lisa go berserk, slapping Alex, and Alex shoving her to the ground with one arm. Finally, after 8 years, I found the vent for that fury that had been stuck in my chest for so long. Chapter 32. In the height of summer. It rained for days. That weekend, I sat beneath the eaves of my old house. Scrolling through my phone, Alex had sent me over a dozen WeChat messages. I didn't read a single one. Men are pathetic like that. The less you care about them, the more they can't let you go. At dusk, the rain stopped. I opened the door, ready to pick vegetables from the garden for a bowl of noodles. But the moment I stepped out, I saw Alex's car parked at the entrance. I pretended not to see it, picked my vegetables, and returned inside. After dinner, it started raining again. Through the window, I could see Alex still there, this time, standing in the rain. He held something in his hands. I stared for a while, then realized it was the white shirt I had torn to shreds years ago. I let out a cold laugh. No idea where he dug that up from. But did he really think a pathetic scene like this would soften me? If one day his own parents died because of me, would he soften? No, he'd probably be ruthless enough to destroy me. He's someone who's always had power, someone who delivers harm, not endures it. He'll never understand how hardened my heart has become. I opened the door, standing inside. I calmly looked at him, and the disfigured, barely recognizable shirt in his hands. Does it mean anything, Alex? I was a bastard back then. I deserved to die, he said. But Jesse, every time I hurt you, I really did feel awful. You found it in the trash? I asked. He nodded. I searched every recycling station, until I found it. Jesse, it's not worthless. It's the most precious thing I have. Without it, I wouldn't have made it through these years. He must have thought himself incredibly sentimental, but all I wanted to do was laugh. Go home, Alex. You have a wife, a family. Stop hurting others. Don't let Lisa become the next me. What do I need to do for you to forgive me? To come back to me? He really must be losing it. To ask something so delusional. I laughed dryly, half mocking. Forgive you? Sure. Let Lisa lose everything. Let me humiliate her. Mock her. Make her hate me so much she wants to die, but still can't do a thing about it. Let her end her life out of despair. Then I'll forgive you. He didn't answer, just stared into my eyes. Jessica, you've changed. I sneered. You're a joke, Alex. You really thought I'd stay the same pathetic girl, who only knew how to cry and be kind. I turned around, clenched my fists out of sight. Your so-called love is disgusting. Get lost. Don't pretend to be deep and devoted. It's nauseating. A few seconds later, I stepped back inside, right as I was about to shut the door. Alex still hadn't moved. I felt a flicker of disappointment. So, that plan to make him finish off Lisa wasn't going to work. But in the last second, his hand pressed against the door, and then he pulled me into a tight embrace. Even if you never love me again, as long as you'll forgive me, as long as you stay, I'll love you no matter who you become. The misty rain blurred the world outside. In the dark, I quietly exhaled. Finally, He'd completely lost it. The colder and more calculating a person is, the more obsessed they become. When they lose control, I shoved him away. "You're insane," and slammed the door shut. Leaning against it, I finally burst out laughing. Alex. He never knew what real love was. His parents were a business deal. His birth was a contract. They never loved him like normal parents, only taught him how to serve the family, how to uphold appearances, how to maximize profits. Everyone in the Fu family was like a machine. What I gave him was the first warmth he ever felt, the first pure, burning love. He was addicted, but didn't realize it. He thought he didn't need it. He thought he could control emotions, forgetting that he's human, and humans crave love, real, blazing, honest love. He loved me, and hurt me. I gave him everything. He tossed it all aside, and now? No matter how far he climbs up the pyramid, he will never feel again the love I once gave him. So when the power settles, and the loneliness creeps in, he'll lose himself, searching for that version of me, of us. But the truth is, that me is gone, and just like I once clung to him like a lifeline, now he's the one grasping at nothing. Chapter 33. Alex moved faster than I expected, and struck harder than I imagined, even though I had collected plenty of evidence against the Lee family's crimes. It was nothing compared to what Alex knew. The Fu and Lee families had cooperated for years, when one side decided to destroy the other. It was effortless. The Lee family collapsed almost overnight. Their crimes, even just one of them, was enough for a death sentence. Lisa's parents, who'd wielded power like gods their whole lives, couldn't bear being reduced to a punchline, the mockery of those who once flattered them. So together, they jumped. Both of them. The Lee family shattered with them. The day they jumped, it rained violently. My car was parked nearby. I watched the crowds gathering. Indifferent, emotionless. I held an umbrella and slowly walked into the scene. Their blood flowed in rivers, just like my mother's had, the day she died. Lisa knelt beside her parents' mangled bodies, howling in agony, her grief primal and raw. I crouched down beside her, holding the umbrella above her. She looked up at me, eyes red, jaw clenched with hatred, pathetic and broken. I leaned toward her ear, whispering venom. "Your parents' deaths weren't an accident. No one's falling for any wrongful death act this time. They were selfish to the end, weren't they? Didn't even think of leaving you some money. Why jump off a building? If they'd gotten hit by a car, maybe you'd have pocketed $1 million or $2, right?" Lisa trembled all over, her body shaking from grief and fury. I smiled coldly. "Wanna hit me? Go ahead, but I'll call the police the second you do. Honestly, you look miserable alive. Why not just die too? There's really no point in living, is there? Not even your parents loved you. Who else would? Alex? He loves me." The moment I said his name, Lisa snapped. "You slut!" She screamed. "You seduced him. That's why he stood by and let my family fall. I'll kill you." She lunged like a feral animal, teeth bared, aiming to bite. But she didn't get me. She got Alex. Somehow. He had arrived without me noticing, and now, he was standing in front of me, hand outstretched, blocking her. Lisa bit down hard. She tore a chunk of flesh from his hand. Blood spilled instantly. Alex winced, but didn't cry out. Even then, even in pain, he turned to me and said softly, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." How ironic. The day my mother died, he had stood by Lisa's side, comforting her. So cold, so detached from human life. Now, the tables had turned, and I wondered, how does it feel, Lisa, to be the one ignored, while someone else is protected? Chapter 34. After the storm, the skies cleared, the sun came back out, the birds sang again, and the world continued, as if nothing had happened. The Lee family had crumbled into dust, and yet the world moved on, without even pausing. At first, there were whispers. people murmuring in shock. But in time, no one would remember them. Just like a downpour that washes away all dirt so cleanly that it feels like nothing was ever there. Just like my parents, no one remembers how they died. No one remembers how I survived. Alex pulled me into his arms. Jesse, now that it's over, are you satisfied with this result? I pushed his hands away. What's the use of an umbrella when the storm has passed? I no longer needed his protection, his support, his comfort. I only said I'd forgive you if you destroyed the Lee family. I never said I'd be with you. Alex smiled gently. It's okay. If you forgive me, I can wait for you, even if it takes a lifetime. What if I never come back to you? He looked at me, calm. That's okay. As long as you don't hate me. I chuckled. Alex, you're still the same. You only know how to love yourself. I love you. He said. What do I need to do for you to believe that? Die. I said plainly. Die. And I'll believe it. He fell silent. I laughed again. Kidding. You'd never die for anyone. He looked wounded, then softly asked, Jesse, can you make me a meal? Just one? I looked at the pleading in his eyes, and nodded. I followed him to the old villa we used to share. Everything was still the same. Even the fuzzy slippers I used to wear were sitting exactly where I left them. Alex had decorated everything, based on my taste. The couch, the curtains, the dishes. I had picked it all out. I told him not to turn the yard into a garden. Instead, I planted rows of vegetables, fruits, and herbs. Once upon a time, I thought this would be our home, but now, it was a mausoleum, a place haunted by what never truly was. My vegetables, he said. I planted all of these myself. Pretty, right? There's grapes, pears, apples, all the kinds you like. He plucked a bunch of grapes and brought them to my lips. No pesticides. Try them. I felt a deep sadness, not for him, but because the beauty I once imagined could no longer touch my heart. I opened my mouth, ate a grape. It was sweet, so sweet, but not sweet enough to reach my soul. Chapter 35. While I was cooking, Alex hugged me from behind. He rested his chin on my shoulder and said softly, Jesse, don't go, okay? His voice was tender. Like this was the moment he finally felt peace. Like Lisa didn't exist. Like he wasn't still a married man. I took his arms off me. Alex, you know I hate being the other woman. He leaned against the counter, watching my every move. I know. I'll divorce Lisa soon. I want to be with you, openly and completely. Suddenly, my knife slipped. I cut my finger. He panicked, grabbed my hand, and brought it to his mouth. I pulled away, rinsed the cut under water. His eyes fell, guilt plain on his face. He fetched a bandage and carefully wrapped my finger. Then, he lifted me into his arms and carried me to the couch. Just sit here. Be good. Let me cook for you. He headed into the kitchen, from where I sat. I watched him move with ease and confidence. When had he learned to cook? He used to confuse sugar with salt. Before long, he brought a full meal to the table. He filled my bowl, served me dishes. Try this. Tell me if it's not to your liking. I'll adjust it. I took a bite. Tastes fine. No need to change anything. His eyes crinkled with joy, but for some reason, watching him so happy made me lose my appetite. He noticed. Not hungry anymore? I nodded. He put his chopsticks down. You're leaving soon, aren't you? I didn't answer. Instead, I said, Alex, yes? I've got a new movie premiering soon. Come watch it with me. His eyes, dim just a moment ago, suddenly lit up. Okay, I'd love to. Chapter 36. The divorce between Alex and Lisa happened with startling ease. No messy drama, no shouting matches, no tears spilt before the media. It was clean, cold, efficient, almost as if their marriage had never truly existed. After that, Alex began to show up at my side more and more. as if the pages of his old life had finally been turned, and he could now walk freely back into mine. But something felt off. Lisa hadn't made a sound. No threats, no retaliation, just silence. Too silent. Dominic, ever observant, was the first to say it out loud. Jessica, I don't like this. Don't stay too close to Alex for now. Let me find out where Lisa is. What she's doing. I exhaled slowly, the corners of my mouth lifting in a smile that had long grown used to danger. Dominic, don't you think it's odd? Lee family collapsed because Alex caught them off guard. But if the Fu family just sits still now, that would be incredibly foolish. Dominic's frown deepened, his voice dropped. Quick and concerned. Since you reappeared in Alex's life, everything's been happening too fast. If the Fu family really sees what's coming, you'll be the first one they come after. He was getting visibly anxious. Jessica, you don't understand the kind of environment Alex grew up in. He's cold because they made him that way. But his father? His father is worse. He's not just cold, he's lethal, ruthless, the kind of man who'd do anything to protect his legacy. I looked at him, calm. So what if it's already too late to walk away? What if death's already found me? Jessica, Dominic. Lisa's silence isn't peace. It's the calm before the storm. I'm betting she made some kind of deal with the Fu family. And if I know Lisa at all, the first condition of that deal would have been, take Jessica out. Dominic didn't respond. His silence said more than words. He looked at me with wide eyes, chest rising and falling quickly. Then I said it. That's why I want to ask you for a favor. He straightened. Anything. If I die, bury me beside my parents. His face changed instantly. He grabbed my hand tightly, tighter than he ever had before. Don't say that, he whispered, almost trembling. I'm not going to let you die. I won't let that happen. I tried to pull away. Dominic, please. But he didn't let go. For the first time in all these years, he looked truly shaken. Jessica, don't give up. Don't shut yourself off from the world. You're still the person I care about the most. I want you to remember that. I've always been quietly worrying about you. His words broke something in me. I know. Jessica. If you live a long, full life, if you ever reach a place where love feels possible again, then, let's be together. Dominic gave me a soft smile. That kind of smile that asked for nothing, just to stay near. I'll make sure you live to 100 years old. Just to keep that promise. Chapter 37. On the day of my film's premiere, Alex came to pick me up. As always, he was impeccably dressed, tall, elegant, with that cold beauty sculpted by the wind. Just a simple touch-up, and every head in the cinema turned to look at him. We walked together through the lobby, and I could feel how many women looked at him from the corners of their eyes, pretending not to notice, though none of them could truly look away. Alex, with a faint frown, kept his expression serious, almost surly. He seemed unreachable to the world. But with me, he was different, softer, more attentive. His gestures toward me were warm, intimate, as if the entire world disappeared when I was near. The girls who watched him then looked at me with envy. They probably thought I was lucky, that I had the perfect man at my side. But if they knew that the tenderness he showed me today had cost me my family, my youth, and even myself, would they still envy me? The movie began, the screen filled with green fields, blooming trees, and shy glances between the leads. It was a story of first love, of real love, innocent and pure. It was my story. I wrote that script. I directed it. Every shot, every line, every camera angle, it was mine. As the characters lived out their story on the big screen, the theater was immersed in reverent silence, and I felt it, emotions long buried beginning to stir. Tears blurred my vision. Alex, sitting beside me, stared intently. For the first time, he was seeing from my perspective. Finally, he understood the pain, the despair, the emptiness I had once felt, the moments he never witnessed, the details he ignored or dismissed, now struck him square in the face. I saw him tremble. Suddenly, he hugged me tightly, desperately. I felt something cold on my forehead. It was his damp cheek. Alex was crying. He wasn't the only one. I looked around. Many were crying. and yet I remained silent, my face calm, as if the story didn't belong to me, as if it wasn't mine at all, but it was. No one knew that the pain on that screen was a perfect replica of my past. The film reached its climax. The protagonist, having lost everything, dies alone in the cold. Then, in the heavy silence of the theater, a figure rose. She was in the front row. Something metallic shimmered in her hand. I didn't have time to react. Alex threw himself over me, shielding me with his body. A deep groan escaped his lips. I looked ahead. That person was Lisa. She had come to kill me, but she stabbed Alex first. Realizing her mistake, she pulled the knife out and lunged at me again. Alex, bleeding, wounded, once again stepped in. Lisa stabbed him over and over, like a beast possessed by hatred. The stabs were brutal. Blood spurted in waves. The sound of the blade slicing into flesh was grotesque. The theater erupted in screams. People running, crying, calling the police. In seconds, chaos reigned, but all I could hear was Alex's voice, whispering in my ear, "Jesse, I know you haven't forgiven me, that you wanted to see me dead, and my family destroyed, like the end of your film. If that makes you happy, if it eases your soul, then I accept it. You told me only if I died for you would you believe I ever loved you. So now, do you believe me? Everything I am. I give it to you. I don't want anything in return. Just live. Just be happy." His face was covered in blood. His lips trembled. He wanted to speak, but couldn't. And I cried like I hadn't in years. I thought I couldn't anymore. Thought I was emptied out. But there I was, crying for him, for everything, with difficulty. Alex raised his hand and wiped away my tears. "Don't cry," he said with a weak smile. From his pocket, he pulled out that torn white shirt, the one I gave him years ago. It was soaked in blood. "This was your gift. It meant everything to me. And now, I give you everything of mine in return. Jesse, if there's another life, can we get it right?" I looked at him. In his eyes, there was still a glimmer of hope. And then I answered, "Your everything means nothing now. Save it for someone else. In your next life." His hand fell, heavy, final. A tear slid down his cheek. He wanted to say something more, but he couldn't. He died in my arms. I wiped my tears, automatically, as if my body moved on its own. Because this time, finally, the story between Alex and me was over. Chapter 38. Lisa was arrested, charged with murder, sentenced to death. The verdict came fast, cold and absolute. No one stepped forward to defend her, not a single soul, and only at the edge of death, when there was nothing left to protect. Did Lisa finally take down the entire Lee family with her? If she was going to burn, she dragged them all into the fire. But what truly shattered everyone's worldview was the secret she had been keeping all along. Her child was not Alex's. The father was Nestor Fu, Alex's father. All this time, when everyone thought Lisa had disappeared or laid low, she had actually been living inside the Fu family estate, pampered, protected, and promised everything. She had struck a devil's deal with Nestor Fu, in exchange for her silence and obedience. Nestor had promised her 3 things. 1. He would take care of Jessica for her. 2. He would grant her a lifetime of wealth and security. 3. Her son, his son, would inherit the entire Fu fortune. For Lisa, it was irresistible. She believed she had already won, and that's why she stayed quiet for so long. Why she didn't make a single move. Because she thought she was untouchable, safe. But Lisa gravely underestimated the man she made a deal with. Because Nestor Fu was never going to let a ticking time bomb live under his roof. He was never going to let a woman like Lisa, volatile, manipulative, dangerous, have leverage over him. He made a promise, yes, but he never planned to keep it. When Nestor found out that his son had destroyed the Lee family, for a woman, and nearly pulled down the Fu empire in the process, he was furious beyond reason. He wanted Alex dead, erased. But Alex was still his son, his blood, and despite everything, he couldn't kill him, at least, not by his own hand. So, he devised a plan, a twisted one, Simple, effective, cruel. He turned Lisa into a weapon. He hired a master hypnotist. Top tier, discreet, deadly. He had Lisa hypnotized, conditioned her, and set her on one mission: kill Jessica. It was supposed to be clean, efficient, no ties to him. What he never expected was that his son, his cold, carefully raised heir, would step in front of the knife. Alex had the audacity to die. For love. For Nestor. It was the ultimate betrayal, and the final, crushing disappointment. But what crushed him even more was realizing that Alex had seen through everything, that his son had contacted the police weeks before, that his every move had been watched. And when he finally tried to eliminate Lisa himself, he was already too late. Because Lisa, in her final moments, spilled every last secret. She exposed every illegal operation the Lee family ever ran. She linked it directly to the Fu family. She dragged them all into the dirt, and every single crime she named was punishable by death. Alex had died, but before he fell, he brought the entire empire crumbling down with him. It was poetic, tragic, terrifying. Nestor realized, too late, that the greatest weapon ever used against him had been his own son, and he cursed himself. If only he'd killed Alex first. But now, it was too late. The Fu family was finished. Chapter 39. Everything was finally over. Truly and utterly over. The storm that had clouded my heart for years had finally passed. The heavy fog, the weight of vengeance, the suffocating grief, all of it had lifted. I sat quietly in the lounge chair in the courtyard. The sky above me a brilliant canvas of blue and white. It was so serene, so peaceful, that my eyes began to flutter shut with ease. For the first time in forever, when I thought of my parents, of everything I had lost, everything I had survived, there was no pain, no bitterness, just peace, calm. I didn't know how long I'd slept, only that when I slowly opened my eyes again, the golden light of dusk was spilling across the yard, and there he was, Dominic, bathed in that amber light. He looked like he had stepped out of a novel, every line of him soft and composed. The kind of presence that warmed you without burning. I was stunned for a moment. Not by him, but by myself, by the realization that, for years, I hadn't seen anyone, not truly, not just men. No one had entered my field of vision. I'd moved through life like driftwood, empty of reaction, numb to feeling, whether something beautiful or tragic happened, whether the world was still or turbulent. I felt nothing. Empathy? Gone. Curiosity? Lost. Even when someone died in front of me, I barely blinked. But now I was seeing Dominic, really seeing him, and realizing, with a pang of something I hadn't felt in years, that he was beautiful. He had been by my side for so long, never asking, never forcing, never leaving, steady, quiet, kind. He was good, so good. I almost didn't dare to reach out, not because I didn't want to, but because I was afraid I'd taint the goodness just by touching it. A cool breeze passed through. It was autumn already. Dominic draped a small blanket over me, his voice scolding and gentle all at once. It's fall now. You'll catch a cold sleeping out here like that. I smiled up at him. I won't. He leaned over me, his dark eyes catching the last light of the setting sun. And then, our eyes locked. His gaze was warm, intense, overflowing with something that made my throat tighten. But even then, his voice remained soft. Jessie. His hands gently cupped my face. His forehead rested against mine. He gave me nowhere to run. Jessica. Do you still mean what you said? What did I say? I played dumb. Smiling faintly, he chuckled softly, his voice no louder than a whisper. You said, if you lived to be 100, you'd be with me. I smiled back. And how do you know I'll live that long? His fingers lightly pinched my cheek. If you don't, then I'll give you my years. My heart lurched. I immediately covered his mouth. Don't say things like that. He kissed the center of my palm. Jessica, life's too short. I want to walk beside you as soon as I can. I reached up, tracing the curve of his brows, the line of his jaw, so familiar, so precious. And then I answered, quietly, okay.